Today's video is dedicated to all of the composers' families who traveled from all over the world to participate in the 65th World Congress for Chess Composition and 45th World Chess Solving Championship, which comprised of 7 composition events and 4 solving events. This was held in Fujairah UAE from 12th to 19th November. Here, first of all, I would like to express gratitude to the government of Fujairah who left no stone unturned to make this competition memorable. On November 12th, the first day, the organizers welcomed all of the contestants who came here with a grand opening ceremony. It was enough to fill the excitement amongst all of the contestants, and over the coming days, discussing each and every composing and solving event. Many of the participants who knew each other only by name on the first day had built a good rapport over the week. Today, through this video, I express my gratitude to everyone who organized this competition, who maintained an atmosphere of goodwill even in a competitive environment. In this video, I'll be discussing 1 composition and 1 solving exercise from the event. So, we start off with a solving exercise from the WCSC, the World Chess Solving Championship, and this is by Venelin Alai, called a self-mate in 5. So, just a brief overview of self-mate. A self-mate is when white forces black to checkmate white in any number of moves. In this case, it is 5 moves. So let's try to solve this. So the first thing which we need to try to think is that how is this white king going to get mated? Because it still can go to f3 and g3. All other squares are controlled by either the black king, black pawns, or the white pawns itself. So white needs to force black to cover these 2 squares, so that then we can give a check. Black will be forced to take it with check, and the king would get mated. So what could we do? Well, first idea which comes to mind is something like queen to d7. The threat is simple: rook d3 check, king c4, rook e3 check, king d4, rook e4 check, pawn takes e4, and now queen takes d6. Bishop takes d6, and that is mate. Black can't do anything else in this sequence of moves. However, of course, queen d7, then it is black's turn to play and not white. And black here can try rook takes a3, simply stopping white from coming to d3 square. So if rook d3 now, simply rook takes d3, and there is nothing more here, no checks for white, and black can play any free move, and there is not much anything white can do to force black to mate him. So because of that, queen d7 does not work because of rook takes a3. How about queen d8? Same idea, but again refuted by the same thing, rook takes a3, again stopping rook d3. So now we should try to think again. How does white want to get mated? Pause the video if you need to. And so, how about maybe something like queen to c6 or queen c7? Well, rook takes a3 is of course one refutation, but the other thing is that this time rook d3, and black king can't even go to c4. That means rook d3 is mate, and we don't want that. We want black to mate white. So the correct move here is queen to e6. What's the idea? Again, same idea. I'll play it out again. Rook d3, king c4, rook e3, king d4, rook e4, pawn takes e4, queen takes d6, bishop takes d6, mate. So what can white do in return? What can black do in return after queen to e6? Well, he can try rook takes a3, but this time this is refuted because of queen to e5 check. Simply, pawn takes e5, and guess what? The king is mated because f3 and g3 is this time controlled by the black rook. So rook takes a3 does not work. What else could black try to stop rook d3 from working? Well, black could try to play rook takes b1. The plan being that if rook d3 check, king c4, rook e3, well, boom, rook takes f1 check. black is not forced to play king d4. And because of that, then the white king would have to go to g3. And again, white has no idea of how he can force black to checkmate white. So we need to try to think of something else after rook takes b1. And the correct move here is knight e2 check. King is forced to go to c4, then knight c1 check. King is forced to go to d4, knight b3 check. Rook takes b3, and now f3 and g3 are supported by the black rook, and so white can force black to play d takes e5, and that is going to be mate. So that's one variation done. But what about the others? Let's say, for example, after queen e6, instead of playing rook takes b1, black decides to play something like pawn takes b4. Now the threat being that now rook d3 check is simply met by king c5, and the black king just tries to run away. But again, we would have to try to think what white needs to do so that he can mate. And this time, the solution here is rook takes b4 check. King goes to c5. Then rook b5 check. Black king is forced to go to d4. Then there is simply queen e4 check. Black takes on e4. And this is the main idea. Bishop to c5. Black is again forced to play d takes c5, resulting in mate by the black bishop on b8. White king can't go anywhere, and so this is another mate. So just replaying the solution quickly. So pawn on here, bishop on a3, queen on c8, queen to e6. Idea: rook d3, king c4. Rook e3, king c4, king d4, rook e4 check, pawn takes, queen e5, not queen e5, but queen d6, bishop takes d6, mate. If black tries rook takes b1, attacking this bishop on f1, then black can play knight e2 check. King to c4, knight c1 check, king d4, knight b3 check, rook takes b3, queen e5 check, pawn takes e5, check and mate. And finally, black can try also a takes b4, after which rook takes b4, king c5, rook b5, king d4, queen e4 check, pawn takes e4, bishop c5, d takes e5. So this was one of the self-made exercises in the WCSC, along with two others which were also quite interesting. But I decided to show you this because this had quite an amusing element to it, that this white king has two free squares, and so white needs to try to force black to cover these two squares. So on to our next chess composition. Now, on to one of the compositions which was made in the 64th WCCC and 45th WCSC. This composition in front of you is by Fujairah UAE. That is a mate in 3 super gods. Okay, you might think that this is kind of weird because the black king is attacked 3 times by the white pieces. However, super gods is quite interesting theme, fairy condition. It is that a piece, including the king, cannot be captured if it is guarded by a piece of its own color. Here, the black king is guarded by the black queen here, and so it cannot be captured or mated. So this is a mate in 3. That means white needs to force black. Well, no, white just needs to mate black. It's orthodox except for just this one fairy condition. So let's try to solve this composition. Here, why not just promoting the queen, promoting the pawn first of all, just get a very strong piece into the game. Be a queen. Note that this will not be in check because the black king is still guarding the black queen. The black queen is still guarding the black king. And white can't play something like rook takes d5 or bishop takes d5 capturing the black queen either, because the black queen is also guarded by the black king. So in this configuration, it will be quite hard to get a mate. So that's why we need to try and break the queen and king apart. So let's try b8 queen first of all. But b8 queen, what happens if something like queen to d6? Again, reminder, you can't take the black king. It's not mated. This is completely legal. Well, maybe something like king to d3, trying to get into a zugzwang. However, this is not zugzwang at all because you can take on b8, for example. You can play any other move, something like queen d5 again. So clearly, this doesn't work. But what could work is something like d5. A very interesting zugzwang because now black can't go back to d5. So he has to move the queen away. But where does he do it? He can't go to e7 or f8 because this time the black king is not guarded anymore. So queen takes b8, for example. Why not? But then white has d6 mate. And now there is no way the black queen can defend the black king. So maybe it doesn't take. Maybe it just plays queen c7. Well, again, either d6 or even queen takes c7. So got it. Queen d6 is refuted by d5. How about something like king d6? Again, we just move out of, because black is in zugzwang, he has to move. Let's just play black played king to d6. Well, now, let's say white plays a random move like rook e8, but black can just come back with king e5. No harm there, right? That's why white should try to at least occupy this square. And the best way to do that would be bishop to e5. Again, keeping control on this black king. Now, what does a black play? He can't move the queen away because he still has to guard the king. So he has to play king to d7. After which, something like rook takes d5 will be mate, or bishop t6, cutting the black king and the black queen, cutting the black queen from the black king. And black queen can't capture either of these three pieces because they're efficiently guarded. So that is another mate which we have just found. What else could we play? Let's say black plays king to e4. Well, now white should try to play rook e5. Bishop e5 would be possible. However, then the black king could just run away with king f3 and so on and so forth. And this white rook is not guarding any of these three squares. So let's try rook to e5. Now, black again has no other move because this black queen, anywhere it moves, the king is under check. Well, so it will be illegal to move the black queen. It can't move king e3, so black must play king f3. But after which, the black king is no longer defending the queen, so bishop takes d5 will be mate. Right, got it. So, and finally, what happens if queen to e4? Well, here's where the problem comes. Because now, what does white play? If he plays something like rook to d5, well, boom, queen e1. He can do whatever he wants on this e file. And there is nothing which black can do to try, white can do to try to regulate, or so that he plays something like bishop to e3. Because bishop e3 simply queen takes e3 because this bishop is not guarded, so it can be captured. So, right, b8 queen fails due to queen to e4. Now, let's move on to the solution. So, this was the try. The solution is king to c4. What does king c4 do? Well, it's zugzwang. Now, whatever black plays, white has a response to it that will make this black king get mated in two moves. Let's say queen d6. Well, it gets mated by d5, like the previous one as well in b8 queen. If it moves to b8 or c7, this queen, d6 mate. Right, got it. So queen d6, no. What happens if queen e4? Well, this is quite an important detail. A brilliant move, king to d5. What's the point of king d5? Again, just to tell you, this is legal here because this king is supported by the black queen And this white king is supported by the bishop and the rook. So black has only 3 moves, right? He can either go to e3, e2, or e1. If he goes to, for example, e2, well, now white can play king to e4 mate. And again, this white king just blocks this black queen from accessing the black king and guarding the black king. And that's why this is so effective, king d5. And that's why king c4 is so effective. So queen e4 doesn't work. Queen d6 doesn't work. Then let's try king e4. Well, now this is refuted by simply rook to e5. Zugzwang. Black is forced to play king f3, after which bishop takes d5 is mate. Okay, and if you go king d6, then bishop to e5. Black is now again forced to go to d7. Anywhere else, well, it would be illegal because the white pieces are guarding them, or the black queen is not guarding the black king. So after king to d7, well, now simply rook takes d5, mate. And so this is it. The solution being king c3 to c4. And if you see, this is so beautiful with all of this unity. When the black king goes to d6 or e4, then white either plays rook e5 or bishop e5, after which the mate is either bishop takes d5 or rook takes d5. Rook takes d5. So there's almost a Grimshaw on the e5 square, something. And there's also Novotny on the d5 square with the bishop and the rook. And what happens when the queen goes to d6 and the queen goes to e4? Well, when it goes to e4, well, then king d5. When it goes to d6, then d5. Again, play on the same square of d5. And there's dual avoidance as well, because queen e4, d5 does not work. Because, for example, queen e1, and now how does the white king come to e4 in time? So this was it. This chess composition by Uri Lawrence, which won first prize in the Internet Chess Tourney. So this was the coverage of Fujairah, which happened just a week ago, and thank you for watching.